night from Freak Dream, as well as much, much more.
Right now, because of the internet, and there seems to be all this like new frontier of how a person can actually be a professional musician. It would be really daunting to me if I was 20 years old and thinking, oh, I want to be a professional musician and make money. It just seems like it would be really hard to figure out.
Yeah, on the other hand, I kind of feel like, I don't know, I feel like the like 10 years ago, I feel like people were a bit more like, what is the internet? What can it do? Like, how does it work? How do, you know? And I feel like now it's like, if I was 15 now, like I would totally be uploading like videos of me playing guitar to Instagram and throwing on all the hashtags, and you can like, you know, I see kids on there that are like 16 years old and just shred and like are networking with their like heroes, you know, like they're finding other, like you could just search like whatever, there's hashtags you can search, like, you know, drum every day hashtag or whatever. You find all these other drummers, and all of a sudden you're like, you know, like, you know, you're not going to talk to Chad Smith from the Chili Peppers, but you might talk to like a touring serious drummer, or even like, you know, like whoever's playing drums for like, I don't know, some big hip hop band or something like that. Like those people are relatively like accessible. So I don't know. On the one hand, yeah, I guess like expecting to make music from, you know, from touring or live shows or from recorded music obviously is like daunting. But I mean, there's a really like broad bunch of things you can do with music. In a way, I sort of think it's like people always give it such shit for being like a poor career choice, but it's like, yeah, I can always teach people guitar lessons, or like I could like learn how to DJ or something like that, or like I do sound sometimes, or like I could record, I can get paid, you know, get people to help like pay me to record their demos. I can play like cover band gigs and stuff. Like there's quite a lot of things that you can do with it. It's just a matter of like hustling, making things happen, being
you got to be a triple, quadruple threat. You got to have...
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I don't think you can just be like, hey, I write songs on acoustic guitar and I'm going to play at a cafe and people are going to, like, love me. But, I mean, maybe you can. I mean, it worked for Dan Mangan, you know, like...
Yeah, that's definitely the hard route. Writing your own music and just relying on that.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I think that's just that's not practical, or like, but at the same time, that's the thing that could potentially pay off the most. So it's like, and I always sort of, or like, I've been trying to prioritize myself Freak Dream for the last while, because I'm like, well, like, okay, I could like prioritize playing in a cover band or something and make like a few $100 each gig, but that's never going to get much bigger than that, really. Whereas like, you know, Freak Dream, I don't expect to get to the size of being like Nine Inch Nails, or some shit, but maybe I could get to like the size of being like the Soft Moon, or you know, like to me, or like even, yeah, you know, like the goal of doing a thing and having like a crowd of a couple hundred people in a bunch of major cities that come out and to see what you're doing, like that's not insanely ambitious. That's definitely possible, you know?
You know, I think that, you know, from my experience in looking at other cities, I think that what eventually is going to start happening here is we're going to start to see a lot more of the suburbs. And I remember that in the early 2000s, places like Maple Ridge and yeah, where more like punk bands seem to be coming from. There seems to be something going on in Abbotsford with the Manor,
yeah,
the carport.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think Abbotsford, there's been like Drew from Blessed and Ruby, like those guys have just built a scene there for ages. And I mean, Blessed, like they tour like crazy and stuff. And so I think it's just every time one of their friends, you know, there's not that many places to play in Western Canada, so I think they always just hook up people with gigs in Abbotsford, because if you're going to drive out to Vancouver, you might as well play somewhere else. But yeah, I mean, I was thinking like I don't know, I've been playing in bands in this city for 10 or 12 or 2 years or whatever, and like I've played in the suburbs so rarely. Like why have I not played in like Burnaby or Surrey or Coquitlam or whatever, like, or Abbotsford even. Like I think I've played like, I don't know, a few times, but it would be super cool if more stuff was happening in the suburbs. Right. I think it's just a question of someone making it happen, and someone with a friend group who's interested in doing that, making it happen. And I think that's always, you know, the thing is like how many people are interested in making these things happen, or interested in like all the unpaid work it takes to make this stuff happen.
Well, numbers are everything. I've always thought with shows that I play that, I definitely needed to have like 500 people that are into what you're doing for 50 people to show up every time.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, and but I do think, Vancouver just makes it hard. I think the fact that it's financially hard and it's like legally hard, because like it's really hard to have an all ages plus licensed legit venue. And I think ideally that's the ideal licensing, because that way if it's all ages and dry, then a lot of age people feel like it's like a party for high school kids and they feel weird about going to that. And then but if it's 19 plus, then that excludes the all ages scene. So in other cities, I think maybe just the licensing is different, or like, even in the States, I think I've thought a bunch about how, like, in the States, given the fact that the drinking age is 21, that sort of gives more of an incentive for 19-year-olds and 8 and 20-year-olds to organize all ages shows. Whereas, when it's 19 plus and it's just 18 and under, and there's sort of a difference there in terms of,
I never thought about that. That definitely totally makes sense.
Yeah, like an 18-year-old trying to put together a show versus a 20-year-old organizing a show. I know it's just sort of a different thing.
Okay, so what I know from Freak Dream is that, at least for now, these recordings that you've released, this is you playing all the parts except for the drums. Yeah,
pretty much. Yeah, there's some bass clarinet on the record too, but I'm like, I could play simple rock drums, but I'm not a sick drummer, so I got sick drummers. And and basically when we started playing with a live band, like, I started with a live band with 5 people and then pared it down to 2 people, which is me and Ryan, who plays drums. And basically it started feeling more and more like he was like a full part of the band. So he plays drums. He only plays drums on a few of the songs of the record, but I think in the future, I think it's like he's the drummer. We got these visas. We are able to play in the States, so we'd like to do that more. And it's really expensive and a giant pain in the ass to do it.
Right.
So while we've got a year that we can play in the States, I definitely would like to get down there a bunch. Particularly like being in Vancouver, it's like there's really, other than the border, it's like I'd like to play Seattle and Portland a bunch more. Those are really our sister cities,
For sure.
But it's so daunting to tour for young bands, because it's like, what are you going to do? Like, drive to Calgary and Edmonton? Like, it's really far. You can drive to Calgary in a day, but it sucks. And then just even that gas cost alone is like, now that's like $400 or something. So it's like, and you can also go to the island, but that's really expensive too because of the ferries. So it's like the place that's actually on the mainland that's close by is Seattle and Portland. The place that has a cool music scene, the places that have a cool music scene are Seattle and Portland, and also even like Bellingham and Olympia. So it's like that border is just like such a fucking thorn or whatever in the side of Vancouver bands. Because it's either you pay all this money to do it legit, or you have to sneak across. And
that's becoming harder and harder. Like, this was happening in the 90s for sure.
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories about bands like Soundgarden and Nirvana playing in like the Town Pump or small little clubs here in Vancouver.
Well, it's always been pretty easy for American bands to come up. But I think Canadian bands, pre-internet, I think you were able to sort of white lie, and pre-9/11, I don't think they cared so much or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, for the last, 15 years, it's been a giant pain. Anyhow, so as for Freak Dream, we are able to play in the States, so we'd like to do that more. Chicken and the egg sort of thing. It's like, you can't have good tours until you tour, but no one's going to come to your shows until you tour a bunch. But it sort of doesn't seem worth touring in a way unless it seems like there's a demand for people to do it. But I think just even just as far as like your band getting better, your band gets better when you tour. Like, even if the shows are small and stuff, it's like you're still playing your set every day for a week or 2 weeks or a month or whatever, and you're just not going to do that playing locally. And you could practice every day, but it's different than playing a show. Like, I feel like same with Freak Dream, I feel like doing that European tour was like such a good move, because it was like, it was really fun, and I got to go to a bunch of cool places and meet cool people. But I also feel like we started that tour being like, is this setup that we're doing, like running with backing tracks and all that stuff, is that going to work? And over the course of the 20 shows, it got a lot more confident and better. Now a lot more than I started. I was like now I'm like, I know kind of what this band is like, be around other people that are super geeked about music, and it's pretty sweet.
Thank you so much to Elliot. Check all the links and go see live music.